Hello, everybody. My name is Megan Duquette. I'm California Relief's Education and Communications Program Manager. And I'm so happy that you all could be here today for our Learn Over Lunch with United Latinos. We started Learn Over Lunch in 2020 as a peer-to-peer learning opportunity. It's a great chance for the network to come together to learn about what other network members are doing and to share best practices so that we can learn from each other. So we host Learn Over Lunch sessions on select Wednesdays throughout the year, and we invite you to learn more about our upcoming scheduled programming by visiting our website, californiarelief.org/LOL. So today I have the privilege and honor of introducing you to Vincent Valdez with United Latinos. He's going to be sharing more about United Latinos Green Team, their environmental justice program. So I'm going to turn it over to Vince. Vince, you have the floor. Thank you so much for presenting today. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for the great introduction. I just want to do special thanks to Megan for helping me get organized with the technology here. And special thanks to my son for introducing me to Google Slides and Google Docs instead of Microsoft. And so, and thank you to California Relief for having these events for us to come together and share with each other. So my name is Vincent Valdez. I'm with the United Latinos Environmental Justice Green Team. And my journey with the Green Team started about 8 years ago. And, I've met so many wonderful people. I've attended city council meetings, Parks and Recs meetings, SMUD board meetings. I've been to a lot of different, I've had the opportunity to attend a lot of wonderful events in our community celebrating the environmental justice movement, the climate change movement, and the diversity of our community. And so it's really important that we include everybody when we talk about environmental justice. And so, the slide didn't click.
Well, there it is. There you go. Did you get it to work? There you go.
Yeah, I guess I had to pull off of one screen. Okay, so where it all began for me is 2008. My son was 10 years old then, and this is one of the first climate justice events we had at the Capitol in 2017, actually. And so, for me, I became a member of the Climate Mobilization, and that was a national organization, and they were their intent was to declare a climate emergency for the world and go carbon free in 2030. And so that was like really new stuff then. And so I decided to have an event at my son's school on the National Day of Action. And the Climate Mobilization put us on Facebook in 2017. It was still new then. And so we were contacted by a couple of climate organizations, and the United Latinos attended our event at St. Robert's School here in Sacramento, where my son was a student. And so that's how I met all these people, and we formed the Sacramento Climate Coalition with Chris Brown, and we're original members of that organization. And since then, we've helped get the climate declarations for emergency declarations for the city council, for the SMUD, for the county of Sacramento, and a lot of different organizations, and had a lot of effort into this movement. And we were proud to be a part of that. And so out of all of that, I was nominated to be on the AB 617 South Sacramento Steering Committee, which is one of the first 10 communities in the state to be designated Community Emissions Reductions Plan initiative. And so it was at that meeting on that committee that I met Victoria Vasquez. And so she came, and and I didn't have a lot of knowledge about the impact and the importance of trees in our community. I do know that we were the city of trees, but I didn't know the tree canopy covered areas that were maintenanced by the city of Sacramento over the years. And then a lot of other communities in Sacramento didn't get watering, didn't get tree maintenance, and a lot of those trees died and are gone. And so she was out there in South Sacramento in the community that we were designated to represent, and asking for assistance on a tree project. And so they were trying to get Caltrans, they were trying to get the city, everybody was trying to get somebody to water those trees that they wanted to plant, but nobody took up the responsibility. And it hit me in my heart when I heard that, because the community really needs trees, but and in that discussion, I learned the importance of maintenance of watering and tree maintenance for the trees to survive. And so in my story today, that's going to be a part of what we're trying to talk about. But so that's how I met Victoria. This is one of our first tree planting projects we did in 2018. There's my son right there. He's probably 15 there, and so through all this effort, we've come a long way. I'm gonna skip over to our next slide. And so with our Growing Green Communities grant we received from Cal Relief last year, we had 4 different workshops. And this is one of the flyers for one of our workshops. And we planted trees, we maintenance trees, that were on site probably they look like 50 or 60-year-old trees, but they'd never been maintained in years. And so we had the opportunity to do a lot in an area that has been overlooked for a long time, and it making a difference. Is it turned into a beautiful area. And so in our projects, we had student involvement. We have students from Rosemont High School, Christian Brothers High School, Consumnes River College High School, and Highlands Adult School, which is at the site of where we put our community garden, where we planted trees, and where we raised the canopy of these trees. And so there's a lot that happened this year with our activities at this particular site, and with all these different projects we started. So the site was an old playground that the church had abandoned, because when they moved all the infrastructure inside the new fencing, that was just an old area. So it's kind of like a brown space, or just a lot of people nobody really remembers the playground that was there, but there was. And so when we cleaned out the area, if you see behind the students there's a pathway. It was all covered in dirt. And so we uncovered pathways, we uncovered garden beds and playground beds, and we converted them into a community garden with some of the grant money as well. And so there's a diverse community at that adult school. And so some of the students there, and I speak Spanglish, and so I was trying to incorporate speaking English and Spanish to some of the students. And one of the gentlemen there, he looked at me, he goes, "I don't speak Spanish." And I go, "Oh, yeah, what do you speak?" And he goes, "I speak Farsi." And so so I learned that there were just more than just Spanish or immigrants from Mexico trying to learn English at that school. We had another fellow from Moldova, which is near Ukraine, and he was at that school. And so we talked and shared stories and asked what kind of vegetables they would want to produce or grow in the garden. And next year, we're going to try to incorporate some of those suggestions from those students. And I have to tell you, when we said that we were going to try to grow what they wanted to grow, the light came on, and they were so proud and happy that maybe some of what they're used to eating, or they could bring some of the veggies that from their communities and grow them here. So it was really, really, really rewarding to work with these volunteers and to give them an opportunity to be grounded with the soil where they live again. And so I'm going to go to the next slide. We also, with some of the funds, we built a 3-bin compost bin. And so Vince has learned composting this year. And composting it's a little complex. It is. I'm like I said, I'm measuring the compost bins. I have to record the temperature twice a week, and then we're rotating them. And I'm proud to say that we collected over 2,500 pounds of organic waste from some of the high-end restaurants in Sacramento with the help of Resoil Sacramento. And it's amazing to when you get 800 pounds of veggies or coffee beans. Let's see, we get cauliflower, we had some corn, pineapple, oranges, and so Thai Basil is one of the restaurants. So when their veggies come in, it really smells good. But we're turning it into compost and working on and recreating good soil for the community to use. And so it's been a learning experience. Like I said, the anaerobic part, I can't tell you all about that. I just know that it works, and we're killing germs. And if it reaches 140 degrees internally, it's good. And so we've been reaching those degrees even in 50-degree weather, And so I'll probably go out there today, and it'll be 140 degrees internally, cooking away. And so that's one of the things. And so this was also one of the pictures that where I wanted to show that not only did we have parents come out, but they brought their kids out. And so there's a father and son team right here working. We had another mother bring her daughters out, and they're on a different area. I didn't get a picture of them, but it was very rewarding to see, and he was teaching his son, letting him do the measurements and stuff. And so we didn't have him do any cutting, but we did have him out there helping build, and it was fun to watch, and they were proud to work together as a team. The community garden at Highlands Adult Campus. And so this is one of the areas, like I said, it was just underutilized, and nobody had been in there. So we scraped it clean. We started filling the old playground beds with dirt, and we created a garden. But these are all the students from the school, and I believe there's some of the daughters there on the left right there. So the mother and daughters are in one of these pictures. And so there was families out there, and again, like I said, they're just proud to be out there to work. And you see the smile on the guy on the right with the wheelbarrow. He was happy to be there. And I'm telling you right now, it was a blessing to have those students come out and help us. So in our events, we had 4 events. We had 49 volunteers and over 233 hours of volunteer hours to put in at this particular location. And so when you think about it, the hours, they just start adding up. Everybody was there for 4 hours and or less. And then it just it's amazing how much we can get done in one day on that site. Well, the first day we cleared it all out, and when we looked back, it looked beautiful, and so we were like, wow. And then so the dirt came in the next couple of days or work parties. So originally, when we planted trees with Victoria back in 2018 or 19, we have a story about using the irrigation drip system. So there were two tree plantings we did at this location, and one was near the back of the field where there was no water access, and the other one was in front of the multi-purpose area, and they were planted in the lawn. And so we expected the sprinkler system to water our trees in the front. And in the back, we decided, I convinced United Latinos organization to purchase a drip system, and this is a reflection of it. $150 worth of drip line and a battery operated meter. And so the trees that were on the drip system outgrew the other trees. They nearly doubled in size. And so what we found out is the watering system in the front wasn't as effective. Some of the sprinklers broke, and so part of that lawn stayed brown during the summer, but ours with the drip line continually got dripped, and that drip system is still working today, 4 years later. And so it's amazing. It's on battery operated. And so but those trees are big and healthy, and just wanted to share that what we learned in that first meeting, that what I learned with Victoria was, if nobody's going to take responsibility for watering it, we have to figure out how we can get watering to it. And in the grants, we have to either write them in or at least get some kind of irrigation specifically for the trees. And so this is one of the great stories that we get to share about, because ours with the drip line were double the size as the other trees. And so We also use some new techniques, and this is a green well. Not too many people have used it, and so we were able to use it. And when we planted our new trees this year, and so it helps keep the mulch away from the base of the tree because that's where the disease comes from, and it also helps the drip line or water that goes inside stay and specifically go down to the tree as it's developing. And I haven't gone back to check if it's gone, but it's supposed to biodegrade over time as well, I believe. So something like that. It's not just plastic we're putting around the tree. And so I have to go check on the condition of it. But I do know it's a protection for weed eaters as well. And one of our workshops at the event was the tree pruning workshop, and Dominic Alamano, and he's been helping us with the California Alliance for Community Composting. So he came out and pruned all the old existing trees that were there, pruned the trees that we planted from 2019. And this is one of those trees in the front of the building that grew, and something happened to it where it doubles. It had two shoots coming out, so the volunteers and the students that he has been teaching at pruning workshops at events prior to our location came out and got to put into practice what they learned at the pruning workshop. So it was really an effective way to get people to help us and also to learn at the same time. And so a lot of our trees grew in different ways, and so we had to modify them, had to help them, and reshape them back into the way so they will grow properly. We did find a few of the original trees we planted. The landscapers came in and trimmed them, and they trimmed them like rose bushes. And so they didn't know. And so we talked to them after that, say, hey, these trees, you don't cut that way. You have to let them grow. So they topped them. And when Victoria saw that, she almost cried. And I felt bad, but it's, those trees are never going to grow as into normal trees. But we did try to reshape them. And I do think we replaced a couple of them because they were just dwarfs now. And so, but the workshops that were there were well attended, and the people were really happy to reshape the trees that we planted, the old growth that was there, and some of the trees that the church had planted a long time ago. And so they all needed help. And so we maintained those trees and trimmed them this year. Hopefully we can do it again next year. And so there was so many branches left over, and so there was a lot of dead branches over the years that fell in the area, and so we dragged them all over to the side where my truck is there, and I got to learn how to run the shredder. And so that's why I threw this picture in here, because we did have a pile of a mulch that we created, and so I learned the value of mulching and using the mulch that's from the trees, because there are a lot more nutrient value in that mulch than the mulch that you get from the landscaping companies or from Home Depot. And so those are bleached, those are treated for no bugs and stuff like that. And so the branches we had were nutrient value, and we used the mulch from the branches that we cut and the branches that were fallen on the property and mulched the trees that we planted this year with our own mulch. And so we got to repurpose it, and that was fun. It was a little bit of work too, though. And this is our 3-bin compost bin that we created there, and we used the wood from Urban Wood Rescue to build this. And so I love that place, and I wanted to plug it because everything they do there is so valuable to the community in relations to old trees that have felled, and they repurpose that wood instead of just shredding it or whatever happens to trees that fall from the landscaping businesses. But I'm pretty much they shred them and just make them into sawdust or something. But so this is David Beck with Resoil Sacramento, and he collects all the organic waste from, like I said, the high-end restaurants of downtown, and they've been doing it for years. And so they're mentoring us and helping us. And if you see in the picture there, the third bin, that's the steam from the compost coming up. And so when we rotate it from what bin 1 to 2 to 3, that's what it looks like, and it's hot. It's interesting, the anaerobic energy created from all those bugs eating those good veggies. And so we learned a lot with this project, and it's still ongoing. And like I said, my goal is to get 10 tons of organic waste this year and hopefully double or triple it next year. And so 1 ton a month, or ton and 500 pounds a month so far is what we're producing. We're receiving, we're not producing. And what I learned is, so we receive a ton and you get a third of that turns into reusable soil when we're done. So the big pile shrinks down into a little pile. And then by the time it comes out and onto the ground or into our geo bins, it's 1/3 of the original weight that when we received it. So I may have some more beautiful pictures of, oh, there it is. These are the pretty pictures. Like I said, that's the picture on the left is from Thai Basil Restaurant. And oh my God, that bucket is dumped. It smells so good. And we have a flower shop. And then on the right, it looks like I have onions and celery and something else. So that's us at work in our 3-bin process. I'm going to look at the time. Oh, I'm in close. So this year we had we were asked by SMUD, the Maralica Lions Club, and the Sacramento Tree Foundation to help do a tree planting project in South Sacramento again. And so everybody knows in South Sacramento there are areas that are the tree canopy is really low, and so the trees that were planted 75 years ago have died, and a lot of them have not been replaced. And so this was an example of our bilingual outreach material that we used to get people in the sign up process with the Sacramento Tree Foundation. So we found that there were some obstacles to doing the equitable projects in communities that have language barriers and or people who may not be U.S. citizens yet. And so we learned, and there's our logo, our Bolas de Vida. And so we went to the National Night Out on Franklin Boulevard, and we were campaigning for the Arboles de Vida project, which is Tree of Life. In the English translation for Arboles de Vida is Trees of Life. And so let me just back up a little bit. So we canvassed the neighborhoods that we targeted. We targeted South City Farms and North City Farms in Sacramento, which are near 12th Avenue in Franklin and all the way to 37th Avenue in Franklin. And we targeted the Woodbine neighborhood. And so we went out with people who spoke Spanish on each team. And so the Lions Club members, us, Dave Tamal with the SMUD board, and even a couple of volunteers from the Tree Foundation, we canvassed those areas, and we did get some responses or people who initiated the email replies with the Tree Foundation, but it's a 2-step process. And so what we found out is a lot of people didn't follow up with a second email. And so we're looking at maybe how we can simplify that, how we can work in a different way to help some of these homeowners get trees on those properties. And what we learned at the National Night Out, and why I have this picture here, is a lot of people didn't want to leave their emails with us. And or some of the homeowners and parents spoke Spanish and had their children translating for them, and they wanted to leave their phone number and for us to call back. And so there wasn't any other alternative plan to getting applicants to apply for trees in their homes other than the email process we had with the Tree Foundation. So we're looking at maybe trying to come up with a different way to get the applicants through the application process and get cited for trees this second round we're doing. And so, oops. And here's our planting event. Okay, so we ended up with 9 applicants who originally signed up for trees, but only 2 of them followed up with the second round of emails. And so this was one of the homes, and I was discouraged. A couple of other members were discouraged. We thought we were going to have more trees to plant, and we had volunteers lined up. But as we planted, we found out that and we experienced the happiness the homeowners were of getting trees. and we were encouraged to not give up and try again, and try to streamline the process and make it easier for homeowners to apply, and to have more bilingual help when we do the canvassing and or application process. And so the Tree Foundation, they did a lot of help to get this project going, and I appreciate everything they did. We're just going to try to help them uh, get through the application process, especially the applicants, a little more. And so we ended up planting 5 trees on this project. There was a lot of time and effort put in, and like I said, there was a little bit of discouragement. But when we planted the trees and met the homeowners and how happy they were, we were all encouraged to not give up and keep trying. And this particular house is one of the houses that I canvassed, and no one was home, but I left the flyer on their door, and they called and followed up. And so we asked her, what did she think about the application process? And she said, oh, it was great. It was really nice. But I was lucky to find the second email because it was in my spam folder. And so, you lose people on a lot of different ways, but the one way you can, and I don't check my spam very often. And so did this homeowner. She goes, I don't check my spam, but I just happened to be looking for something, and I saw the Tree Foundation email in there, and she was able to get trees. And so these are some of the obstacles and things that we look at in the community. And like I said, when we do equitable projects in the community, we learned that it may take a little more resources and a little more time and effort to get applicants through the process. And growing green communities. I just had to add, this is one of my favorite pictures through the garden through the year. I mean, there was tomatoes, there was peppers, and there were zucchini, cucumbers. My son planted carrot seeds, and they grew too. But the sunflowers were the most prettiest, and I love the sunflowers. And so one little story about the community garden. So it was hard to get the students to come out and harvest when we were there. And we were there usually on Thursday nights or Tuesday nights. And so one night they were all leaving, and my coworker, she spoke to them in Spanish and said, hey, we're harvesting right now. Now's a good time to come get it. And those students came in, and they took everything out of the garden that night. And so it was heartening to see that they were happy to get the tomatoes, the peppers, the zucchinis, the cucumbers, and all the effort that we did for them to reap the benefits of the garden were there that day because they were happy. I don't know if they were hungry or the budget was low or whatever, but I know when I don't have any food and I get some food, I'm happy and excited, and the excitement was there. They loaded bags, came back with other bags, and so it was just rewarding to know that the community, the need for food is really there. And so I believe this is my last slide. So thank you. And I think I exceeded my time limit.
Oh, that's quite all right. Thank you so much, Vince, for sharing about your project. And I'm going to turn it over for question and answers now. So if you have a question, you can put that in the chat, or you can use the raise your hand feature, which is at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar. There should be a heart that says react. And if you push that button, your raise your hand button will appear, and you can select that, and then I'll know you have a question. Or you can just unmute yourself. So I'll give folks a moment to digest and think. But I do have a question for you, Vince, and for the United Latinos team, perhaps. My question is, you created this really great partnership with this church and the school, and I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about how you did that initial communication and partnership arrangement, and how you included the students, how you did outreach to help them get involved in this project.
Well, originally the Pope came out with the Laudato Si, which is his writings on how us as citizens need to protect our earth and take care of Mother Earth. And so we approached the church and said, so in response to the Pope's call to action, what can we do as a community, and can we use your facility? And so there were a lot of areas at the church that there's a large 40 acres behind the school and the church that that are open for urban reforesting. And so we've tried to get some of those projects going as well. And we haven't given up on that either, but we did get to plant trees on the backside of the Juan Pablo Adult School, which is the area where we did most of the community garden and the composting bin as well. And so it started in that just little conversation like that. And so the father who is there, he's really proud of what we're doing. And the students are just really excited about what we're doing and they want to volunteer. They always ask, hey, when are we going to do something next? Or, what can we do? And so when we rebuilt some of the flower beds, one of the students adopted one of the beds for himself. He said, he goes, can I just have this one? Because he rebuilt it and then his friend wanted to grow. And so that bed is going to be for them next year. And so it's exciting to have the involvement of the community and to see, like I said, the opening of their they're just happy to be a part of what we're doing there. And so the Latino community, we're environmentalists and we I've been growing a garden forever. My grandfather did too. And so it's just something that we always do. And so to carry on that legacy now in a spot for the community is nice.
Thank you. It looks like we've got a question from Jeff Solomon. Jeff, you can unmute yourself and ask.
Hi, it was great, Jeff. Vince, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. I know we're getting out of the season that you really need drip irrigation, but I would love to learn more about drip irrigation. And I'm wondering if you have any opportunities in the near or far future that you're going to be putting that in again. I would love to come by and learn and volunteer. I just wanted to let you know that.
Okay, great. And I got your email in the chat too, because I want to reach out with you because we're looking to do some big tree planting projects with the AB 617 community emissions reductions plan. And it's going to be right in your community because one of the community members there asked if we can plant trees. So with your help, maybe we can get that moving forward.
Great. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got another question. Victoria, you've got your hand up. You can go ahead, ask away.
Yeah, thank you. Great presentation, Vince. That was a whole lot of work that you did at that site. And I just wanted to, I'm just remembering that the hesitancy in the middle of those tree plantings when Sacramento had a large storm come through and these large 150-year-old trees started falling on that property and took out a fence and took out a roof. And, the amazing work that United Latinos did in securing grant funding to prune all of their large mature trees on that property to instill faith that the trees, could be cared for and could be healthier and could be stronger. And that practice of reaching out to a tree care company, to Fallen Leaf Tree Care, who came out and with 3 rounds of grant funding did $15,000 worth of mature tree maintenance, which I think was a really valuable piece in ensuring that the place of worship continue to have faith that trees are a good thing when you have such catastrophic weather events. So good job on that and making sure that their mature trees were maintained alongside of their new trees.
Thank you. And tree maintenance is something that we've learned, and especially with these young trees. And so we saw them grow, and some of them either through the weather, because we had the hurricanes one year, and then we had the drought, and so some of the trees started leaning after we took the stakes out from the wind, and so we restaked them again, and so we're trying to salvage them, but it just those young trees took a beating when I think the hurricanes were 2 years ago. I can't remember, but that was like the windiest days ever. I've been in Sacramento all my life, and so that was the windiest it's ever been. I think it was like last year or 2 years ago. So yeah, tree maintenance is huge.
I have another question for you, Vince. So United Latinos is a large organization, and I was just curious if you could share a little bit more about United Latinos and then how your EJ team came to fruition, and then who makes up your green team? How many participants is it? Are you part of a board? That kind of thing.
Yes, our green team, we have 5 solid members. Brandon is one. Erica Guzman is another one. Richard Falcone, he's on our green team. Then we have Alex, and we have a few students from Davis and and Roman. So we have like at least 7 key members, and we have a volunteer base that we work with. And so when we're tabling at events and talking about tree planting or composting, or a lot of people are talking about the water now. And so the environmental justice issues are for expand more than just the trees and the composting and stuff. And so when we're out in the community and we talk about these kind of projects, we get people who want to plant trees. We get people who want composting. What I'm learning is a topic that everybody is interested in and wants to expand. And so I think maybe it could be with the legislation that the city passed, where they have to divert a certain amount of compost from the landfills, and everybody, you know, got their little buckets, and we're just still putting them in the green waste bin, and it gets shipped out to Woodland, and Woodland does the composting, and what comes back with plastic particles. So we received some of their compost, and we of course, some of my friends who are more involved in the composting decided to go through it to see what they find. And, you know, we found plastics, we found other unnatural things in the compost that it made it through the cycle. And so our compost is 100% organic. And so we try to take, if you have the compostable bags, we take them out, because those have forever chemicals too. And so, and we're trying to have the cleanest compost we can. And so, yes, the United Latinos. So I've been involved with a lot of air monitoring projects in the community. Richard, he just left the meeting, but he's done a lot, and he's working with the EPA on a project. He's did some mobile monitoring with the Valley Vision and the Air Resources Board. And so we've worked on a lot of different things in the community in regards to environmental justice. And so seeing, and so I lived in South Sacramento most of my life, and I remember living off of Fruit Ridge Road near Stockton Boulevard, and my neighbors got funding from the city to redo the drought tolerant landscaping, and so it was a project that they had. Well, I was on the county side, 5 houses down, and so no funding for us, you know. And so those are the environmental justice things that people don't talk about. But it's the city county border that is so it's such an odd shape in South Sacramento along the Fruit Ridge Franklin Boulevard all the way to Freeport Boulevard corridor. And so the parts of the city that are carved out of there that are county don't receive the same funding as your neighbor. And I was an example of that. And I was like, well, how did you get all that done? Oh, we got it paid for by the city. And so I tried to apply. They said, sorry, your address is 5 addresses down. And so it's the strange shapes. And those are some of the environmental justice things of the redlining. I'll say it, of the redlining of the past that still exists today. And so we're on the greening of North Franklin Boulevard. And I wasn't going to bring it up because there's so much good effort going in there. But along 12th Avenue, south of 12th Avenue on Franklin Boulevard, again, trees didn't go in because they couldn't find anybody to water them. And I was like, really? I mean, you guys, there's millions of dollars going in there. You couldn't find some irrigation somewhere, somehow. And so trees didn't go in. And as simple as that. It's just that nobody wanted to take responsibility for watering. And so it's such a sad thing to know that. And in Sacramento, we get enough water 5 months out of the year. And we just need to water for the other 7 or even less. But so the environmental justice things still happen. And so that project goes until the city border, and then it stops again. And so people south of that 40th Avenue border of the city property line, or the city line, that greening of North Franklin ends there. And so, oh well, a lot of good coming out of those things, but Vince wants more.
That's very positive. And I guess that kind of, leads to my next question. And if anybody else has a question, feel free to unmute yourself as well. I was curious, what does your green team, I know you mentioned that you do some tabling and you've done community outreach in a lot of different ways. How do you communicate some of these environmental justice issues, whether it be redlining, or pollution, and trying to get people involved to help address those things, whether it be through advocacy or action. Because there's a lot of things that may be needed, whether it's policy, advocacy, or just educating the community about why it is the way it is. I was just curious on if there were strategic things that you did as a group to help address that.
No, well, we do meet with the, like I said, we've attended the city council meetings. We've had some meet and greets over at La Familia with the elected officials, and so those are good ways to do it. But I'm going to be working this year on getting more people to call individually or email or wherever. And so I've been working with the Katie Maple in her office because they're in my area, and so they are responsive. But what we've learned is some of the communities, well, the communities that don't respond or don't initiate phone calls or emails, they're not going to get the services, or and so all they have to say is, well, there's not very many people have called from that neighborhood, Vince. You're saying you need all this here. So we need the constituents, we need the people. And so developing those QR codes for here, you can email this person directly right now. And so we started incorporating the QR codes last year, and they do work and they're effective. And it's the quick link for an email or a message to your city council member. And so and I'm not the best at knowing all the council members and everything, but we had to have codes. We have to have codes for wherever you live. This is your member. And so when we ask people, who's your member? They go, I don't know. So we have to find out on a map. And okay, so here, this is the person you need to contact. This is your outreach number. And so we're trying to effectively get the communication straight to the council members themselves, the city council or the county board as well. And so those are the initiating starts locally, and then it goes, to the state level and stuff like that. But I think the most effective way, and I've learned it because I've been at those meetings, and I asked them, I said, well, how come the funding is going to these areas and not the other areas? And they said, well, these areas call regularly, Vince. They have our number, and I go, well, give me your number so we can give it out and call you. And they go, oh no, we don't give out the number anymore. And so I said, well, how unfair is that? Well, they gave me the email, and so emails are just as effective, I guess. But some of the other communities, established communities in Sacramento, they have the direct line already, and some of these other communities don't. And so we need to create that direct line for people so they can get the feedback or share their interest in what they want, whether it's transportation for their kids, cleaner streets in the community. And these are all the environmental justice things that people are talking about in the community, as well as, the pollution, allergies. Why are we having to use our breathalyzers now, or not breathalyzers, but a lot of people are saying they're having a hard time breathing right now. And so it's interesting.
Could I interject? Can you hear me, Megan?
Yes,
I can. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to also help out a little bit with answering to your original question. United Latinos was started and continues to do work in the area of civic engagement for Latinos to get us more involved in civic and educational and electoral processes. Part of our mission is, without a doubt, environmental justice, as it is with social justice. We're extremely proud of Vince and Richard and the other consultants that we have for them taking the lead in our area on environmental justice. They do great work. They're almost evangelical in the way they do their work. I do want to just also reiterate what Vince was saying. I've been the president of United Latinos now for almost 2 months, but my background is in politics, or some of my background is in politics, or policy, higher ed policy. But in terms of one of my major goals that I have in my mind for United Latinos is to be more visible in the advocacy arena throughout the city and the county. And we have great advocates on our green team. I cannot stress enough also the other work that we're doing, in particular, Richard is leading on air monitoring throughout South Sacramento. There's provisions within our grants to do some advocacy work in there. And I just want to make sure that as an organization, we don't shy away from that. So not only are we proud of the great work that our Green Team is doing, but we want to make use of what they learn so that we can help inform and interact with policymakers.
Thank you, Juan. And I just kind of to follow up on that question, within your volunteer community and everybody associated with United Latinos, do you hold community meetings and kind of go over different projects that you're working towards to talk to them about ways that they can get involved, but also advocacy related projects? Like, do you hold meetings of that sort, or is it by committee or group?
Well, I'll let Richard and Vince answer most of that, but we just had an education forum on a voting education forum with some of our candidates about a month and a half ago. So that's an example of a community meeting. And then our consultants in particular are always out in the community engaging with other groups and networking with other groups. It's a very simple thing to do, but it's important. And so they're always tabling at different events to let the organizations and people that attend those events know about what we're doing. Vince, Richard, anything else on those lines?
I'll quickly say our Green Team meets on the second Thursday of the month at 6 o'clock, and I have a Google invite I can send to you. I don't know if I have the link right now, but and we've been really busy the last few months, and so we're going to reinitiating that monthly Green Team meeting. And so yep, so that's what we talk about, a lot of different things at our meeting, our goals and projects that are coming up. And Dia de la Tierra was something we created last year as well, and so we're going to have a second year one, and that's Earth Day in Spanish, Dia de la Tierra. And so we're going to have a second Earth Day event. Last year it rained so hard that day. I was so, oh no, not on my Earth Day. But hopefully next year, and we needed the rain, but hopefully next year it'll be a nice sunny day, and we'll have a lot of people highlighting what we do in the community or how we can get other people to help and get engaged. And so, yep.
Okay, great. We've got one question in the chat, and it is, does United Latinos have chapters outside of Sacramento? Are there other chapters throughout the state?
No.
Yeah, we're mostly Sacramento County.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. And it looks like we've got another question from Victoria. So Victoria, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. I just want to highlight this gold standard of environmental justice and community engagement, and kind of the nexus of those two things that United Latinos has described today. They're not just working in air quality and extreme heat and tree canopy and composting and food access and language access, but also going door to door with a personalized code and a direct line to your local city council member. And they're hosting events so the community can learn about how to be engaged with their local leaders. So it really is the gold standard of door to door in your language, asking afterwards, how did this process work for you? What do you think we can do better next time? I just think this is really an exemplary example of how you can enact environmental justice in your neighborhood with this amazing set of services that United Latinos has described here today. So bravo, you guys.
I want to just add and say bravo to Vince, especially for keeping up on all of the work that the Green Team has been doing. But there's something I wanted to bring forward for this group in here, and it's just a part of me. And Juan, apologies for possibly speaking from my heart here. For the time I've been within United Latinos and reaching out to the community, I think what Vince does so well is he takes the issues and he reaches out to the community in intentional, personal ways to get their interest. Many people, and I'll use myself as an example, will hold a town hall on something and they'll say, well, what do you want me to do about it? That's great. You give me a bus pass. Okay, cool. Give me a gift card. That's cool. But what do you want me to do about it? And even when we discuss things like some of the issues that are going on, especially within the Latino communities, in there, it's like, I got to work for a living. What do you want from me? I got to support my family. What do you want from me? Of course, the air is bad. Of course, all of this is bad, but I got to make a living. But Vince finds those ways without talking about policy, processes, and all this kind of stuff. Say, hey, let's go plant a garden. Hey, let's go compost. Hey, come on, let's go do some tree planting out there. Because now you're involving the community in hands-on activities and hands-on things that they're going, yeah, this is cool. And then what you're doing as a result of that is they're then learning environmental justice through the work that Vince is having them do. So I think that's a lesson that we learn from folks like Vince and others who are just so grassroots. Victoria is the same way. Victoria, you are amazing in the work that you have done through the years. And that's what grassroots is all about. Find those places that the community wants to get involved in. We have a long list of people who want to plant trees, who want to help with plant trees. They the whole thing of air quality and climate justice, secondary, but I want to plant a tree. That sounds so cool. So Vince, bravo for, all of the work that you've been doing, for your intentionality, your heart, your soul, your personality in bringing some of these successes forward. I'm proud to know you, man. And yeah, as Juan said, we got a lot of other projects we're working on. Be happy
I
to
got my
discuss it
green
with
team
you
shirt
guys at a
on.
different time. He's got his green team shirt on, but Vince is the heart. Vince is the heart. And with that, I'll drop the mic and say thank you all for this time.
If I could also, I don't want to I don't want to talk too much, but I just want to share a little anecdote with the group because it gets to what Richard just said. When I was in grad school back in the 80s, I studied Latin American history, but I really wanted to study Chicano history. And I took every course I possibly could on Chicano history. And we were in a seminar, and I made the comment, the discussion was, what do we need to do as a people in the United States? And I made the comment that the day that we get Chicanos involved in environmental justice issues is the day where we have succeeded in a large measure. And the reason being is because in those days, as many of you recall, a lot of the struggle, if you will, was social and political. I happened to be a part of United Latinos, and I happened to find out that we had this great green team. And I'm just thrilled that kind of this question that I asked way back 40 years ago is being implemented and embodied through the work that Vince and the green team do. So it's really been just an extremely heartwarming and encouraging thing for me to be a peripheral part of, because Lord knows we needed it back 40 years ago, and we're doing it now. Thank God.
Thank you so much for sharing. United Latinos, the entire team, we really appreciate you being here today and telling us more about your work in Sacramento. And I've been inspired about all it's amazing work and inspiring. And I want to say, if there's any other questions for our presenters today, it looks like we just have a lot of people thanking you in the chat. So thank you for that. If you have any other questions, feel free to unmute yourself. We'll give you a moment to do so now, but amazing work. And I love how you have really engaged the community and have sought feedback for improvement. That's really, really helpful. And I'm excited to hear more about more projects that you do in the future. Well, I'm not seeing any additional questions right now in the chat or anybody's hand raised. So I think we're a little bit early today, but I want to say thank you everyone for being here for our Learn Over Lunch session. We will be announcing our 2025 series in the early new year. So stay tuned there, and I will be emailing you with the recording link as well as some of the items, as well as United Latinos website page for you to take a look at later this week. So with that, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll be in touch soon. So take care, everybody, and thank you, Vince, so much. Do you have any final words for us today?
No, just thank you for giving us the opportunity to share what we're doing in the community and help others connect with us as well. So we made a few more friends today, and that's wonderful. And together, I think we can get these things done. That's for sure. It's just not one person and one show. So thank you.
There was
California
one other
Relief.
There's one other question though for Vince. It just showed up in the chat from Lali Mendoza about how Vince began the work. We got 4 minutes.
Oh, well, I in the beginning, I shared how I started with climate mobilization and the climate emergency declaration. So I was working in San Jose, and there were a lot of friends that I had up there who were involved, and so when you come back to Sacramento, you don't see or hear any of those things happening. You know, the Bay Area is so far ahead of us. So I came back here and I said, how come we're not talking about it in Sacramento? And when I met the mayor, our current mayor, and we were talking about climate emergency declaration. And so it started with, I think, San Jose, San Francisco, and a few of the California cities declared climate emergencies. Well, by the time I met the mayor, Yuba County, Woodland, it was flourishing everywhere. And I said, well, we're Sacramento. Why aren't we declaring a climate emergency? Look at all the 15 other cities statewide, and a lot of them were LA, San Diego, and stuff like that. And so it became a motivating moment for me to let's just move and look at all the different issues. And it's not just climate change that we're talking about, or how do we get that when we have, polluters in certain communities that are the green light just to pollute away because nobody reaches out and complains, And I grew up in South Sacramento, and we loved Campbell Soups. My mom loved going to their bent can store they had there, where you could buy all the Campbell Soups products for half off and stuff. But every year it smelled like tomato soup in the area. You know what I mean? And so, but nobody complained because everybody worked there. And like Richard said, hey, we're going to work there, and so, and it's just, there's a lot of ways that we can be effective in the community. And not only, we're not anti-business, but we're trying just to improve everything what everybody's doing. And there's ways to do that. And it's happening all over. But that's how I started in the climate environment and EJ work. But with the United Latinos, we'd have the opportunity to get hands-on with people and directly include the community in what we're doing. And so that's wonderful. And I like I said, working with the students at the Juan Pablo Adult Education School has been so rewarding, and to see the happiness and how they can participate in changing the community one compost bin at a time, I guess you can say. So.
Yeah. Although Vince is a Raider fan, but we'll talk about that at a different time.
Megan told me to put on a Kings hat. She suggested anyway.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was more representative of Sacramento. Well, thank you so much. And thank you, Cindy, for catching that question in the chat. I'm sorry I missed that. So is there any other questions out there? I don't see any in the chat. Again, thank you so much to United Latinos, Vince, Richard, and Juan. We so appreciate you coming and sharing with us today. And like I said, I'll be emailing you later this week with the link to the recording and some of the resources that Vince will share today. Thank you so much to everyone, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.